You are the bridge generation. You grew up drinking from the garden hose, riding bikes until the streetlights came on, and letting yourself into an empty house with a key around your neck. You are a Gen X dad, and the way you are raising your son right now is entirely dictated by a psychological reaction to your own childhood. You were raised by a generation of fathers who were often defined by one of two things: strict, authoritarian discipline, or complete emotional absence. You survived it, but now that you're raising a son of your own, you're caught in a dangerous psychological trap. You swore you wouldn't be like your dad, but in your desperate attempt to be different, you might be making a completely new set of mistakes. Today, we are tearing down the psychology of the Gen X father. We're going to look at the invisible baggage you're carrying, why you parent the way you do, and the exact correction framework you need to stop overcompensating and start leading your son. Let's look at the data. Psychologically, Gen X fathers are defined by a massive generational overcorrection. Your father, the boomer dad, likely believed his sole job was to provide financially. He brought home the paycheck, but when it came to your emotional world, he was a ghost. Because of that, Gen X men made a collective, unspoken pact: I will be present for my kids. Research shows Gen X fathers place a radically higher value on work-life balance and being physically present at home than the generation before them. You want to be there. You want to be involved. But here is the danger of a passive father, something we've talked about before on this channel. Physical presence does not equal emotional leadership. Many Gen X dads are in the room with their sons, but they are emotionally checked out. You don't want to rule with an iron fist like your dad did, so you default to nothing. You become passive. You let your son figure it out because, hey, that's what you had to do in 1986. But independence is not the same thing as isolation. This brings us to the core psychology of how you operate. Gen X dads lean heavily into an authoritative style. You want high warmth, but you also demand self-reliance. You look at millennial and Gen Z parenting, the helicoptering, the hyperscheduling, the endless coddling, and it makes you sick. You want your son to be tough. You want him to be resilient. But here's the hard truth you are ignoring. You cannot expect your son to have your level of 1980s resilience if you aren't actively teaching him how to process failure. When your son messes up or acts out, your instinct is either explosive frustration because he isn't tough enough, or you withdraw and give him the silent treatment. Both of those reactions are trauma responses from your own childhood. So how do we fix it? We use the correction framework. It is time to transition from reacting to your past to intentionally leading your son's future. There are two hard rules you need to implement today. Rule number 1, stop expecting him to raise himself. The latchkey mentality served you well for survival, but it is a terrible strategy for building a man of character. When your son faces a challenge, do not just tell him to man up and figure it out. Stand beside him. Show him the mechanics of problem solving. Stop telling your son how to be a man and start showing him. Rule number 2, separate discipline from anger. Your dad probably used fear to keep you in line. You need to use authority. Authority is calm. Authority is immovable. When you correct your son, it shouldn't be a release valve for your own stress. It must be a calculated, identity-based coaching moment. Correct the behavior, but affirm his identity as your son. You are a good father. The fact that you care enough to try and break the cycle proves that. But caring isn't enough. It requires execution. If you want to understand the long-term damage of getting this wrong, you need to watch my video on the exact consequences of emotionally absent fathers right here. Watch that next, take a hard look in the mirror, and get back to work. I'll see you in the next one.